Imagine a single ship, a magnificent, luxurious giant, slicing through the waves of the Atlantic. Now, imagine that same ship, its side ripped open, plunging into the icy depths, taking with it over 1,000 souls. This isn't just a story about a shipwreck. This is the story of how the sinking of one vessel changed the course of world history, pushing a reluctant superpower into the deadliest conflict the world had ever seen. Today, we're diving deep into the tragic and controversial story of the RMS Lusitania. The year is 1914. The great powers of Europe have plunged into what will be known as the Great War, or World War I. Across the ocean, the United States watches, determined to stay out of the chaos. President Woodrow Wilson has made his stance crystal clear. America is neutral, and it will not be drawn into a European conflict. But neutrality is a fragile thing, especially when the war spills onto the open seas. The Atlantic Ocean becomes a battleground. The mighty British Royal Navy establishes a suffocating blockade, cutting off Germany from vital supplies. In response, Germany unleashes a terrifying new weapon, the U-boat, or submarine. These underwater predators begin to prowl the shipping lanes around the British Isles, declaring the area a war zone. Their mission is simple: sink any ship, military or merchant, that could be aiding the British war effort. Amidst this escalating tension, the RMS Lusitania prepares for another transatlantic voyage. She is the pride of the Cunard Line, a floating palace of luxury and speed. Passengers board in New York, confident in their safety. The Lusitania is a civilian passenger liner, after all. Surely, the laws of war would protect them. Plus, she's one of the fastest ships in the world. Many believe she can simply outrun any German U-boat, but there are ominous signs. On May 1st, 1915, just before the Lusitania is set to sail, a chilling warning appears in American newspapers, placed right next to the Cunard Line's advertisement. It's from the Imperial German Embassy. It warns travelers that any vessel flying the flag of Great Britain or her allies is liable to destruction in the waters around the British Isles. It explicitly states that passengers sailing into the war zone do so at their own risk. Most passengers dismiss it. It's just a threat, they think, a scare tactic. Germany wouldn't dare attack a ship filled with women and children, including many Americans. The captain and crew are also confident. They have procedures in place. The ship's speed is its greatest defense. The mood on board is one of excitement and anticipation, not fear. For nearly 2,000 people, it's the start of a routine, luxurious journey. They were tragically, horrifyingly wrong. The voyage across the Atlantic is mostly uneventful. But as the Lusitania nears the coast of Ireland on May 7th, 1915, danger is lurking beneath the waves. The German submarine U-20, commanded by Captain Lieutenant Walter Schwieger, is on patrol. Schwieger has already had a successful run, sinking several other ships. Now, through his periscope, he spots the biggest prize of all, the massive, four-funneled silhouette of the Lusitania. The Lusitania is sailing without a military escort, a decision that will be debated for decades. Fog had forced her to reduce speed, making her an easier target. At 2:10 p.m., Captain Schwieger gives the order. A single torpedo is fired. It streaks through the water and slams into the starboard side of the Lusitania, just behind the bridge. The initial explosion is powerful, sending a plume of water, coal, and debris high into the air. Passengers on deck are thrown to the floor. Panic begins to spread. But what happens next seals the ship's fate. Just seconds after the first impact, a second, much larger and more violent explosion erupts from deep within the Lusitania's hull. This second blast is what tears the ship apart. The power goes out. The ship immediately begins to list heavily to one side, making it nearly impossible to launch the lifeboats. Chaos and terror reign on the tilting decks. The magnificent liner, the unsinkable marvel of engineering, is dying, and she is dying fast. In just 18 minutes, the RMS Lusitania vanishes beneath the waves of the Atlantic. 18 minutes? There was no time. No organized evacuation. No chance for hundreds of families. Of the 1,959 people on board, 1,198 perish. The loss of life is staggering. Among the dead are 128 Americans. The news hits the United States like a physical blow. Newspapers run headlines that scream with outrage. A deed of wholesale murder, deliberate piracy. Illustrations depict German soldiers as barbaric Huns and Kaiser Wilhelm as a monster. The American public, which had largely supported neutrality, is suddenly unified in a wave of anti-German fury. The sinking of the Lusitania becomes an emotional flashpoint. It is seen not just as an act of war, but as an act of barbarism, a deliberate massacre of innocent civilians. The story of mothers clutching their babies as they were swept into the sea becomes a powerful symbol. The Lusitania is no longer just a ship, it's a cause. Recruitment posters in Britain and later in America would feature images of a drowning woman with a stark message: enlist. But what caused that devastating second explosion? The Germans insisted they only fired one torpedo. This question fuels a storm of controversy and conspiracy theories. Was the Lusitania secretly carrying munitions for the British war effort? Did the British government, led by figures like Winston Churchill, first Lord of the Admiralty, knowingly use a passenger ship to transport war materials, essentially using civilians as a human shield? For decades, the British government denied it. They claimed the second explosion was caused by coal dust or a boiler explosion. But the truth was far more complicated. Decades later, declassified documents and underwater explorations of the wreck would confirm the suspicions. The Lusitania was indeed carrying a cargo of rifle ammunition and non-explosive artillery shells, listed on its manifest as cheese, butter, and furs, while these munitions were not the high explosives. That could cause such a massive secondary blast on their own. Their presence violated the rules of war and made the ship a legitimate military target in the eyes of the Germans. It was a dark secret that the British government was desperate to keep hidden. They wanted the world to see the sinking as an unprovoked act of savagery, and the truth would have complicated that narrative. Despite the public outrage in America, President Woodrow Wilson still resisted the call for war. He sent a series of diplomatic notes to Germany, demanding they abandon unrestricted submarine warfare, but he was determined to keep America out of the fight. He famously said, "There is such a thing as a man being too proud to fight." However, the seed had been planted. The Lusitania tragedy had fundamentally shifted American public opinion. The anger and resentment towards Germany never truly faded. The incident created a moral justification for war that wasn't there before. For the next 2 years, the United States walked a tightrope of neutrality, but the pressure was building. Germany temporarily scaled back its U-boat attacks, but resumed them with a vengeance in 1917, desperate to starve Britain into submission before America could intervene. Then came the final straw, the Zimmermann telegram, a secret message from Germany to Mexico proposing a military alliance against the United States. That was it. A combination of unrestricted submarine warfare, which was now sinking American ships, and the Zimmermann telegram, a direct threat to American security, was too much. The moral outrage that began with the Lusitania disaster finally boiled over. In April 1917, nearly 2 years after the Lusitania went down, President Wilson asked Congress to declare war on Germany, stating that the world must be made safe for democracy. America had entered World War I. The sinking of the Lusitania was not the sole cause of America's entry into the war, but it was arguably the most significant turning point. It was the spark that lit the long fuse. It transformed the war in the American public's mind from a distant European squabble into a fight of good versus evil. The memory of those 128 American lives lost became a powerful rallying cry that helped mobilize a nation for war. The story of the Lusitania is a complex tapestry of military strategy, political maneuvering, government secrecy, and profound human tragedy. It serves as a haunting reminder of how the lines between civilian and combatant can blur in wartime, and how the loss of one ship can change the destiny of nations. What do you think? Was the attack on the Lusitania a justifiable act of war, given the secret cargo, or was it an unforgivable atrocity? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching. If you want to uncover more of the hidden stories that shaped our world, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We'll see you in the next one.